Hello, my name is Stephen Taylor, and I am here to showcase the game EVEscape Shuttle. So without any further ado, let's jump straight in.
Warning. Unidentified vessels approaching. Estimated time until short proximity range 15 minutes. Core power has been shut down. Warning. Unidentified vessels approaching. Estimated time until short proximity range 15 minutes. Core power has been shut down.
So, EVEscape Shuttle is a puzzle escape game, and it takes the premise out in space in the EVE universe. We're really drawing from the intellectual property of EVE. So within EVE, the pilot's been attacked, and as you heard, the ship, the power's gone off, and there's pirates on their way. So the player needs to escape. The pilot's deck. This is where the player starts the game. The timer, which starts at 15 minutes, starts counting down immediately, and the first puzzle is in front of the player in the first place to escape the pilot's deck. Now, there's 4 pieces of paper on the desk, and there's a keypad, so the player can go up and guess a combination. However, guessing the combination, there could be over 5 million possibilities, and that would take too long for the player to guess. So we've given a hint in the first place, which gives 7. But that would only reduce the amount of numbers down to over 400,000, with possibility without replacement. So, as indicated earlier on the hub at the bottom right, you can use neuro boosters. Neuro boosters being part of the EVE world as well, which enhance learning but have some side effects, can reveal hints to the player throughout the game. So, as you can read in the bottom right, neuro boosters being explained. So we now have 7, and we have 3 digits here. So this gives us an indication of what the player needs to input. The amount of inputs now has been reduced to 6. There's 6 different combinations that the puzzle could be, and allows the player to escape. Down the bottom right, our quest hub will display for the player's objective. Now, this links to our core game loop, as the player is always being directed by the objective HUD. So they would go to the area they need to go, figure out the puzzle, and then go to the next area. As you can see, the ship is quite modular from the design. It was done with actually some prefab assets, which I had to change and adapt, which was kind of a constraint in a way, because we couldn't make really complex shapes, or if the complex shape had to be some in Pro Builder, which these runnings here are done in Pro Builder. And sorry, let me just get rid of that for a second. And also the design of the ship had to be changed according to this as well. So there was meant to be an elevator that pulled the player down here, but it was meant to be broken, and this doorway was meant to be working. But because of the our prefab usage and the design, we actually adapted this change quite late into the game making. So making our way into the generator room, the second room, we have the generator puzzle. Now in here, as you can see, the power is out. The player is even to use fusion cores and stick them in to fix the puzzle. As you can see, it indicated it went yellow. That means it was wrong. So using a neuro booster, you can reveal hints about where the power cores are meant to go. So the player can now place them in and get them correct. This is one of the first puzzles that was made, and we really wanted to see how we could use neuro boosters around for the puzzles. Also, we were kind of inspired of this by, we wanted a choice, which was a big design pillar in our game, and the theory by Zimmerman and Salin on rules of play, on meaningful choices. Really, we wanted to adapt that in. We want the player to think, do I want to sit here and guess the combination and waste some time in the game, or do I want to use a neuro booster and potentially suffer some side effects? So come back out here onto the third objective. The player is now meant to go up to the terminal room. The terminal room now being active, the player can access. And then when you go in here, as you can see, there's some code, and no matter what you push, you can't understand. The point of this is we wanted to force the player to use a neuro booster. by forcing them to use it, we get them into a puzzle later on. So you as the neuro booster, you get a warning in the bottom right that warns you about the neuro boosters and for excessive consumption. And now the player can comprehend the code because of the of their heightened intelligence. So inputting the code, which needs to be done correctly. As you see, starts an explosion. Now life support has now blown up.
Breach detected.
The player needs to continue on. Talking about this though, this terminal design.
Support critical failure.
Oh wait.
Protocol initiated.
The terminal design was based off the Talos principle. Now the Talos principle had similar idea of the images and the input, and this really allowed us to feel like the player had a control, so that the inputs they put into the computer caused the explosion of the life support that just happened. This really links to games feel, and talks, you know, how the player's input is affecting the world around them. And done by, sorry, that was by Swink. That was a theory by Swink on Games Feel. Come back out now. The player is to make their way back to the pilot's deck to receive a gas mask as the life support has just gone off. Being able to walk around all areas of the ship was also a nice design. The design principle that we took, and the player can access all areas of the ship at any given point. And this was a semi-linear design done by our crammers on level design, and it made us feel like the player, you know, can really explore the area. Going into the medic bay, this is our mini game, or our way of reducing the amount of neuro boosters. So if you at 3 you are quite stable, but going upon 3 you actually start getting side effects. As you can see, it's become more granulated, and the players are taking an excessive amount of neuro boosters, so they're starting to lose their sanity and get a bit delirious. So to reduce these effects, the player can do a mini game in the medic bay. And as you can see on the screen, they can go into this game and type in these letters to try and reduce the effects. If you make a mistake, as you can see at the right, there's some mistakes are allowed for, and upon completing the mini game in the time limit, the renewal boosters now is reduced and the side effects have been removed. Going back into display, we find the gas mask. We put on the gas mask. Now the player will be now put into what we like to call a hallucinogenic induced state. They are now having an out experience state because they've used a certain amount of neuro boosters in amount of time. So when I said earlier about forcing the player to use neuro boosters, this is what induces this into this state. As you can see, it's an out of experience area. It's the colours change. The field of depth is changed as well, and then the player goes into this puzzle here. The puzzle is to light all the lights. As you can see, there's 4 lights that have lit up here, but they do turn off when you step over them again, which can be seen here. So the player must light all the lights. Let's do this. There's certain algorithms to figure out this puzzle, which we actually had this puzzle with less squares, but was too hard. So we tested this puzzle on multiple people, and from realizing it was too hard, we came up with this design here, which made the puzzle easier. So we actually iterated this puzzle multiple times from user testing, which was quite nice. And also our inspiration for that was from Lego Star Wars. They had a very similar pattern but more simplistic. Upon escaping the hallucinogenic state, we go back to the escape pods. But to touch on one thing before, upon using neuro boosters and from that hallucinogenic state, there's actually another game loop here that goes in. So if the player was to use more neuro boosters, they would come back to the medic bay to reduce the effects with the granulated effect. That actually creates another game loop, as the player can visit the medic bay and waste time in the medic bay. Now I better hurry back down to the 5th puzzle, as I will actually die. So for the 5th objective, you need to come to the escape pods, and this is where the player needs to escape. Now, to escape, you have to find an object. So you have to look around for an object. The player has, where does it be? So the player, really want the player to be rushed. The player to feel like, it's panicked. Then they can find a crowbar if they look around. You can go up to an escape pod, which are quite pried shut. Push E, interact with it. The door starts to be forced open. Once the door is forced open, the player can enter, and then they've escaped, and that has successfully escaped from the exploding ship. Some points behind this game: we really wanted to get a feel behind EVEscape, so the design for it in the intellectual property for Eve, you don't really get to see inside of a Eve ship. There's not really takes, because in the game you don't get that perspective. So we had to have some educated guessing and adaptation into the ships, what we feel, because we were using the premise of the Galente ship for Eve. We adapted the ship, so the size of the ship is actually to scale of what the ship is in Eve, and we generated the inside based upon what we thought the systems that were required, and and also the neuro boosters were taken from this as well. That was quite a constraint for us, because we had to do a puzzle game inside of the Eve universe, so we had to think of innovative ways to make a game upon this. And this is the end result that we came with. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you playtest yourself. Thank you very much.